Greetings, Guardians. My name is Bife here. So as we're exploring more and more of the Season of the Haunted, it's becoming clear that the season is going to have a huge focus on the trauma and nightmares of all the characters. The three major characters in the plot, namely Crow, Zavala, and Keitel, are all going to face their nightmares. Eris, the sort of leader of the entire thing, is in a lore tab, and she sees her old fire team members and their nightmares. Everyone is getting nightmares. Every single character. Even Callus has to face his own regrets in the Duality Dungeon. So yeah, everybody is experiencing this cloud of existential terror and dread that's just sort of descended on the universe of Destiny. Today I wanted to address the terror that's chasing one character in particular. Much like all the other nightmares, it brings a dead face back to life, but this time I think it's clear that it's a whole lot more menacing and problematic. It's very much personal. Today I wanted to talk about the nightmare that has been hounding Ikora, the nightmare of inaction and the guilt that comes with it. The nightmare of Cayde. Today I'll do the quickest of story recaps on Cayde's story, as well as talking a little bit more about what happens in the Season of the Haunted with regards to Cayde's nightmare, and this is another one of those emotional damage kind of moments, so be ready for that. Before we start though, quick reminder again, GCX charity stream. I've got my block going on June 6th at 12 PM Eastern Standard Time. Really excited to see everyone there. I really hope you can all make it. We're going to be playing Iron Banner Rift for 4 hours, and more importantly, we're going to be raising money for the kids alongside GCX. You can find that live at twitch.tv/GCX event, and we have some awesome prizes rolled up for this one. We're only a day or so away from the graphic getting published, so we'll have that in future videos. Either way, thank you so much, and I hope to see you there supporting the kids. Ooh, and do remember, $20 and $60 exclusive Destiny emblems are on offer this time around. So if you want to snap yourself a unique emblem, go ahead and, yeah, jump into the stream, give some money to the kids. Anyway, back to the lore. I think this must be the 20th time or so that I've repeated the story of Cayde's death, but at this point, for those of you who've only recently jumped into Destiny, I feel like it is worth recounting another time. So here are the absolute basics. Cayde 6 was the old hunter Vanguard, and a much beloved character in Destiny. He assisted us ever since Destiny 1 in a lot of things, such as the destruction of the Taken King and the retaking of the Lost City, and in all sorts of other endeavors along the way. He was practically everyone's friend. But then one fateful day he headed with us to the Reef. A prison break orchestrated by Variks the Loyal freed the criminals of the tangled shore that had been contained within the Prison of Elders. This included not only rogue Fallen, Cabal, and Hive, but also a new breed of menace that could be found across the asteroid belt, the Scorn. Their 8 barons had been captured, along with their leader and creator, the former Prince of the Reef, Uldren Sov. When the barons broke free in the Prison of Elders, it was Cayde that headed down to the lower levels of the prison first, so that he could cut them off. It was here, in the depths of the Prison of Elders, that he met his fate. As he finished off a crowd of Scorn soldiers, his ghost, Sundance, was shot by a paracausal round from a Scorn baron known as the Rifleman, Pirha. Rexis Varn, a baron known as the Hangman, then followed up with a direct attack on Cayde, sending him reeling through a wall, and separating him from his weapon, the Ace of Spades. Finally, Uldren Sov arrived and took up this weapon. He shot Cayde and left him for dead. And then we arrived. The death of Cayde sent shockwaves out across the tower. Ikora, Zavala, and our Guardian stood vigil for Cayde as we planned what to do next. But there was discord amongst our ranks. We were divided. Take a look at how that manifested, and in particular, listen for Ikora's words this time around.
He had the worst jokes. Even worse timing. I wanted to laugh. I really did. We should have been there. This is not your fault. This is on the head of Uldren Sov. But if he thinks what he's done is the end, it's not. It's the beginning. We're going to fight him. Do you hear me? All of us. Every Titan, every Warlock, every Hunter. We will take the Reef by storm. And then, we will mount the head of that son of a bitch on his precious throne. For our fire team. For Cayde.
No,
What did you say?
we are not an army. We are not conquerors. We are guardians. We need to keep our eyes here. On our home, our people, the Traveler. The Reef was lost the moment it lost its queen. So if another Sov wants a stretch of lifeless rocks, let him have it.
This is Cayde we're talking about. For us to do nothing is
Say it.
cowardice.
I refuse to bury any more friends.
You won't have to. Aldrin Sov is mine.
It was clear that the Vanguard couldn't do anything. They couldn't act disunited. They had to keep the Guardians in line, and they couldn't invade sovereign Awoken territory, even if it was under the control of Aldrin Sov. This moment was quickly followed up with us going to Ikora, who stated just as much, but wasn't exactly stopping us from going to the Tangled Shore. Her absence would leave the Vanguard looking fractured if she went as well, and that inaction that she had to undertake was one that she clearly resented, one that she regretted. Cayde was her friend. He was a member of their fire team. He was the Vanguard. Now it seems that the inaction which she chose, or was forced to choose after the death of Cayde, has come back to haunt her. Take a listen to the lore from an exotic that was once taken into battle by one of Cayde's close friends, Shiro 4, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. The lore today comes from the Trespasser exotic sidearm, and it reads as follows. You are not welcome. It kills me to say it, but I really am impressed, the voice says, an echo reverberating from the past. Ikora does her best to keep focused, to push past a breath of resurging anguish, but a nightmare like this refuses to be so easily ignored. It stands at her side, wearing her friend's face, horn and all, the ribboned edges of its cloak swaying beside the hand cannon holstered at its hip. It speaks with his voice, but its words are false and dripping with poison. She forces herself forward, climbing the steps to the Leviathan's entrance. Walking in uninvited is usually my whole thing, it continues as it floats beside her. Unless you've started taking after me. You're nothing more than a memory, Ikora replies without looking at it. You are not him. Can't argue with that logic, it says, flashing a smile. After all, he's dead. Ikora flinches as the nightmare circles around, hovering just over her shoulder. Thanks to Zavala, you, and most of all, thanks to Aldrin Sov. Ikora's brow furrows, and she clenches her fist, continuing her ascent. He shot me with my own gun, the nightmare presses. Do you remember that? Ikora picks up her pace. Still, the nightmare follows. I mean, you must, right? It asks. What was it you promised to do? mount his head on his precious throne. That was some real big talk, Ikora. But instead of doing that, instead you welcomed that scumbag to the tower with open arms. So I'm thinking either your memories are a little mixed up, or maybe you really have forgotten what that murderer did to me. Crow is not Aldrin. Ikora seethes. The nightmare smirks. Right. Just like I'm not Cayde. Ikora spins on her heel, chest heaving, void light flaring in her fists and deep within her eyes. But there is nothing behind her. Only the emptiness of space. Ikora, Eris's voice crackles over the comms. Perhaps it would be best for you to return. Ikora breathes deeply, palms flat at her sides. She gives the Leviathan's door one long, final look before turning back. In this season, everyone is haunted by the twisted memories from their past lives. Some of those memories are best left untouched. Whenever I make a video on this channel that's something like this, I often try to leave people with whatever wisdom that the lore teaches us that can be applied to our real lives. This season is all about trauma, and I think with this particular video, I think that it's worth talking about trauma, and it's worth understanding what this particular bit of lore is trying to tell us. Everyone at some point is going to need to deal with trauma in their own way in their lives. For some, trauma and the thing that causes it must be confronted and overcome, but sometimes adopting this head-on approach is more harmful than helpful. It is not always the correct course of action to face the things that give you that trauma and to give you horror. You often make things worse by simply immersing yourself in that traumatic experience again, trying to overcome it. That narrative works for some, and certainly not for all. I'm not one to sit there and adequately suggest what is what. I do not have the qualification. But I would remind you all that dealing with trauma in your own way is a legitimate way to deal with trauma. It does not need to be one prescribed set path that someone gives you. Talk to a professional about that if you are truly looking for a way. Sometimes, like with Crow, your trauma is internal in some regard and requires you to forgive yourself and accept yourself to a degree. Other times, like here with Ikora, the confrontation with trauma is unnecessary and should simply not be addressed. Sometimes the best thing we can do is acknowledge such trauma and then continue to live our life without regrets and continue onwards. This isn't to say that what Ikora is doing or what you should do is bury your head in the sand. I reckon Ikora stands by the conviction of her choices, even if she had to make them against her own will. And I think that is what Eris is getting at here, is simply the idea that one does not need to confront trauma when it serves no purpose, and when one has reached a degree of necessary acceptance. Remember, it's not a sign of weakness to back away from something traumatic. It's a sign that you know yourself and that you're emotionally present. It's not something to be ashamed of. We literally all have trauma. Managing it and handling it is just a part of daily life. And if you manage it well, you do better than most. Again, anyone who is actually experiencing this, and I understand this is probably not the last time I'm going to say it with this particular season, find a therapist. Find someone who is a professional who can help. At very least, if you do need to go ahead and talk about these things, see about talking to a friend who might understand. It's not impossible that you find some clarity on the situation. Anyway, with my very much not professional words there, I would encourage you all to seek real professional help if stuff goes on. And yeah, that's it for our video today. I'm so sorry for bringing Cayde back up. It just keeps on rolling back like a bad penny. Either way, thank you very much for watching the video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and leave a like. More importantly than that, of course, remember that GCX stream is coming up. Be there on June 6th at 12 PM Eastern Standard Time. I look forward to seeing all of you there. And of course, on the smaller side of things, if you want to go ahead and leave a sub or you want to leave a comment, go ahead and do that. We're closing in on 1 million. We are getting very close. So please go ahead, jump in and do that. I'd be very much grateful. Of course, that's also the case if you want more Destiny lore content, because yeah, we have more of that coming out, including for the time while I'm away at GCX. Anyway, in the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and do know that as per usual, your viewership has been quite enough for me, and that my name is Byf. Per audacia ad astra. I'll see you, Starside.